Go.
Welcome in, everybody. It's the Line Movers Network College Football Podcast, and this is a special conference championship week. With myself, I have the guys, as always, Ian Robbins and the tutor. Hey, guys.
What's up, David? Good to see you again this week. End of the college football regular season as we have it, postseason. Let's roll. All right, tutor. Go ahead. You got your time.
Oh man, that 2 in a row against Ohio State at Ohio State in a dominant fashion. My only beef right now is that they're not number one because they were in the SEC. If they were named Georgia or they were named Alabama, Michigan would definitely be number one right now. But hey, I won't complain. They're gonna get either TCU or USC in this next round, which I think is very, very beatable. And then we'll get a chance to revenge Georgia in the championship.
I agree. And seed 1 or 2, I hear you. I hear the complaints. I could go either way. At the end of the day, you got to win 2 games.
That's true.
Let's get right into it. We're going to go in order of how the games will be played. We're going to touch on all the conference championships. We're going to start with the Friday kickoffs. 8 p.m. Eastern, Conference USA. North Texas is going to play UTSA, the Roadrunners, Texas San Antonio. The game is going to be on the Texas San Antonio campus. They'll have the home field advantage. The Roadrunners are a 9-point favorite, total of 68.5. Ian, kick it off.
All right, yeah, UTSA, a couple years in a row now, best team class of the Conference USA. Just a predictable sleepy spot last week, really, but just been dominant in conference all year. Probably a conference that a lot of you haven't been following, but run the ball well, explosive plays, put up a lot of points. North Texas played them earlier this year, beat them earlier this year. Both teams should be a lot of high-scoring game. This total earlier this year was in the 70s. This will be close to that. I just see there's a big mismatch. UTSA has been the class of the conference the last 2 years. Big mismatch to me. Love UTSA this week. Get the Roadrunners home game. Big time win this week.
Wow. Tutor.
Yeah, they 68.5 is a lot. And I also think the spread of 8.5 is a lot. They played each other just, 4 or 5 days ago or 4 weeks ago. Close game, 31-27. I think it'll be something similar. I think you should bet something similar. Say, North Texas will cover, maybe win, but it should be under 68.5. Should be a good game.
Sounds good. Moving to the Pac-12 championship game from Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. 8 p.m. Eastern. This game is on Fox. We have the Utah Utes and the USC Trojans. Before you give me your pick on this game, boys, is USC guaranteed a spot with a win? Tutor, you're first.
They are not.
Wow.
If they lose, I think that opens the door for Ohio State to come back in.
What if they win?
If they win, and if it's a really good looking win, I could see them jumping TCU, depending on what TCU does in their game. They could end up being 3.
Got it. Pick the game. Utes, Trojans.
So this is, the Pac-10 is going to get their run it back dream match, right? In the Instant Classic earlier this year. What Utah had going for them this time, that it's on a neutral field, right? All 3 of Utah's losses this year have been on the road. But USC is playing for a playoff bid, right? Caleb is playing for the Heisman. But make no mistake about it, Utah would love nothing more to win the Pac-10 championship and stick it in USC's face because they're leaving for the Big Ten, right? Plus, having a new coach come in first year and win the title would make that conference look even more silly. Losing two best teams, new coach coming in. we did this game earlier in the year. I think I projected 31-30 USC. Ian had like 44-38 USC because we were both thinking Utah mindset would be different. Their goals were shot when they lost. They lost a couple games in a row. So we went with USC. And Utah came out strong, and maybe even the game of the year, top 5 at least. Part of me hates saying this, but the Pac-10 I do think want one of their teams to be in the playoffs, and I do think there's some subconscious part of a ref will favor USC. And it's not just the Pac-10 either, the committee too. The committee wants to make it easier on them too. So and it just could be just me, or I watched that Tim Doherty special on Netflix this week. So give me the refs and USC 38-37, another classic that goes over on the last second field goal.
Wow. Ian, an hour ago, the football committee gave USC the 4 seed. Before you give me the game winner, is USC in with a win?
Oh, in with a win for sure. That's an easy job. 11-1, 12-1, conference champ, 1 loss, avenge their loss, beat every team on their schedule now with a win. Only loss is a 1-point loss on the road versus a top 15 team, covering the spread in that game nonetheless. There's no question that they're in. Plus, they're USC. It's a brand. It's not a little brother school. It's not a Cinderella school at all. So for sure, I do think there is a debate though. If they lose, depending how they lose, the debate to me is this, and I know how it's going to go. Ohio State will get put in, but the debate to me is this: do you get penalized for playing a conference championship game, and you get penalized for losing to one team? Because on the resume surface, they get penalized for playing the extra game for the conference championship, and they get penalized for losing only to one team. So how does that resume look different than what Ohio State did, losing bad versus the best team they played in their last game, not really having an impressive season to speak of at all? So how does that differ than what USC season looked like? And if you even bring Alabama into the conversation, who shouldn't even be ranked ahead of Tennessee, despite Tennessee doesn't have their quarterback, that doesn't matter. Tennessee or Alabama's beat nobody.
I agree.
They've lost to the best teams on their schedule. They have no business being in this conversation. Ohio State, I understand because they have the 1 loss. But if you're going to start penalizing teams for playing conference championships, what is the motivation, especially for a conference like the Pac-12, who hasn't been able to break through? And now if they're going to have their prime brand, their big-time brand, whether they're leaving or not be able to break through for the conference, why would they ever play a conference championship game again? What's their motivation? As Tudor said, maybe the refs, maybe they know that for sure, but yeah, the money, but now the money to play this game and the money to lose out on the playoff spot, it's offset. So what is the motivation for that? And I think that's the debate for USC side as to why they should get put in as a 2-loss team, because it's 2 losses to one team, 1 on the road, 1 neutral site, 1 as an underdog covering the spread, and 1 as a short favorite. That would be the debate. Win in, no doubt. Things can move around. TCU loses, they jump TCU for sure. They're in the 2-3 game, whatever that is. But that would be my push myself for the USC side to get in with a loss. I do think they're going to win this game, so I don't think it's going to be as big of a thing. If you look at that matchup from previously before, so this is on the road at Utah, different climate. This game is going to be in Allegiant Stadium in Vegas in a controlled environment under the dome, faster track, favors USC. Caleb Williams is a better quarterback than he was then. But if you remember that game, USC got out to a fast early lead. They were up a couple touchdowns early on in that game. They looked like they would run away. Cam Rising had a hero performance, really his top performance, best one that brought him back. That was kind of the highlight of Utah season. Come back, go for 2 at the end of the game, take the 1-point lead, eventually hang on. We've seen Caleb Williams grow as a quarterback. Now, this is a guy who is a Heisman favorite. He's for sure going to win the Heisman. I don't even know who else will challenge him at this point. You got a team that has Biletnikoff award winner from last year. That's their top receiver, who's now healthy. You got another 5-star receiver who transferred over from Oklahoma, Mario Williams, now looking healthier. You got the talent. Lincoln Riley has been there before. Caleb Williams is going to be the best player on the field, I think, in every game that they play going forward. I mean, this is a guy who's the number one recruit out of high school. He started as a freshman in Oklahoma. He was a preseason Heisman favorite. He's going to win the Heisman this year. He's going to be the number one pick in the draft after next year. It's hard to argue with that. I mean, the guy scored 5 touchdowns last week when he had to. He's just been absolutely threw for 500 yards the week before that when he had to. Been absolutely amazing. So I think USC is a threat, and I think they're going to showcase that. They showcased it last week. They showcased it the week before. I like USC big here. I like them to kind of shut Utah down a little bit. I don't think Utah's as good as they were in the middle of the year. I think they peaked. I think USC is peaking. USC, I don't think it goes over 70 points, but I do like USC to win by a couple touchdowns.
Great stuff. Moving to Saturday, high noon, East Coast time, ABC. We're going to AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, Jerry World, the Big 12 title, Kansas State and TCU, the Horned Frogs. Everyone's been talking about them all year. Here is their chance to seal it up. Before you give me the pick, Ian, does TCU get in the playoffs with a loss? Then give me the game.
I think they do. I think the way things shaped out, I just think, again, this team went undefeated in the regular season. They beat the team they're about to play earlier this year.
Yep.
They've beat every team on their schedule regardless of results. How do you look at a power conference team? And how do you look at the conference of the Big 12 and say, you lost your conference title game? We're going to put in a team that did not beat every team on their schedule, who did not play this week, in over you with the same amount of losses. That is just wrong. And if they do that, then you're really looking at, there's 2 conferences that exist. That's it. That's the bottom line. There are 2 conferences that exist and nobody else is welcome. It's just not good for college football if this team gets left out. I don't see how they're left out. I can't see it. I don't think they're in the same class as the other teams at all, but I think they've done everything that in their power to deserve a spot in that, win or lose.
I'm with you.
Instead, coming out and beating Iowa State last week the way that they did, not struggling for the first time in a long time after the gauntlet of a schedule they had, that was a statement. That was a statement to the country and says, here we are. Now, they struggled with Kansas State early on when they played them early. Those quarterback questions. Will Howard ended up playing the bulk of the game. He got hurt in the second half. That's when TCU was able to make their comeback, kind of miraculous comeback to even cover that spread. Kansas State's been tremendous. They have big play ability. They slow it down, but TCU's shown an ability to actually win by multiple ways the last couple of weeks. And TCU has, they're funny. They were a sharp team ahead. Then they were a fade team in the middle of the year. I think it's gotten a little bit close the other way. I think it's time to buy back on them this week. I like TCU to win. I like TCU to put that statement on this amazing season, cap it off with a nice, tough, hard-nosed under win against Kansas State.
Tudor, are the Frogs safe with a loss, and pick the game?
I do not think they're guaranteed a spot. A close loss here. Probably a bad loss. There's gonna be a healthy and heated debate with us next week, I think. Well, actually, they already make the decision, but I don't think they can lose bad. I think that's just waiting for Ohio State to come in. Alabama, yeah, I don't think Alabama matters. It's Ohio State or nothing at this point. I think TCU can't just have to have a close game, win or lose, and I think they can probably still get in above Ohio State. I don't know yet. If Michigan kills Purdue, that only makes Ohio State look better. So there's a lot of other factors you could look at. But dude, I think TCU is they're going to be playing with everything they got, and it's going to make them dangerous. And they're also going to have the refs in their back pocket. So, this is going to be a high scoring game. And I think TCU is going to win like way over. It's going to be like 42-35 or something like that.
Good stuff. All right, we're gonna go rapid selection here. Let's go to the MAC Championship, Saturday, noon Eastern, ESPN from Ford Field in Detroit. Toledo, the Rockets, and Ohio. Toledo's a 2-point favorite, 55. Tudor.
Well, I am going to go on a limb and just say that Toledo has been struggling lately. We've lost 2 in a row. Ohio's won like 6 in a row. So give me Ohio with the upset.
Yeah, I mean, same thing, same deal there for me. Toledo's been limping in. Quarterback's been hurt. Both their top quarterbacks have been banged up. Not scoring a lot of points that they were earlier in the season. Definitely been peaked early. Ohio's been on the rise, constant rise, been dominating teams home and road. Games in Detroit. Ohio's just been a better team. Better quarterback work's been, playing really well. Like Ohio, both teams are not scoring as much. 55 seems a little tad too high for me, but Ohio outright, a little lower scoring game.
Well, very good. 3:30 Eastern, ESPN. Let's go to the Sun Belt versus the Fun Belt. This game is going to be on the Troy campus. Coastal Carolina going into Troy. Troy, 8.5-point favorite, a total of 48.5. Ian, what say you?
Yeah, I think we saw last week what Coastal was without Grayson McCall. McCall's a guy who really was all their glory. They had a great coach, quarterback combination. I think their coach is halfway out the door too. And we saw what happened with Liberty when their coach is kind of out the way. Teams pick up on that, especially when your quarterback, your NFL quarterback, the guy who really rose your program up from the FCS level, is out. They just got nothing left. Troy's been the best team in the conference all year. Dominant defense. I don't think Coastal's going to be able to score more than 10 points, to be honest with you. Troy should put up 20. And for that, I like Troy.
Sure.
Yeah, it's too bad that McCall got hurt. This could have been a really fun game. They probably would have won possibly the last one and had an outside chance of maybe being the non-power 5 team that gets in if Tulane were to lose. I don't see how Troy is going to lose at home to a team without their stud quarterback. So, and I don't even think it's going to be very pretty. Give me Troy by like 14.
Both my guys on Troy. American Championship, a rematch of just a few weeks ago, 4 p.m. Eastern on ABC. This is going to be on the Tulane campus from Ullman Stadium, Central Florida in Tulane. Tulane, a short 3.5-point favorite, total of 57. Tudor, you're up.
Yeah, we get another run it back classic here with these two. UFC put the game out of reach, I think 4 minutes to go in the last one. The last game, Tulane became a passing team. They went away from Spears, which was weird. I think he had like 8 rushes the whole game for 130 yards too. 1 catch. So, and that's got to change, I think. Last game they had 2 turnovers. UFC didn't have any. Plumlee ran for a ridiculous amount of yards that game after kind of struggling midseason. So I think you're gonna see Tulane get the ball off the Beard a little bit more and contain Plumlee a little bit. Which is why I think the total is where it is. You would think this would be a higher scoring game, but I think that's what you're gonna see more running. I think it was 69 total last time. So, and it's hard to beat a team twice. And this one's in Tulane. I see Tulane popping a field goal at the end, win 31-28.
Yeah, good rematch. UCF, I'm just not sure what's going on with them. They had a couple big wins over the bigger teams, kind of cementing themselves at the top of the conference. Then they come back, sleep a spot against Navy, can't move the ball, can't score. And then they come back last week and they get up 28-0 early. Plumlee has a couple big runs, and then they just start dropping the ball. And against the rival, one win rival in USF, school right down the road from them, and all of a sudden UCF is winning the game and should have won that game. I just don't understand how you have a 28-point lead against a team in their last game, and then all of a sudden you're losing and giving up, and USF is just literally doing whatever they want to do. I can't trust UCF now at this point. Tulane is on a mission. Tulane is going to be hunting for UCF. How is UCF going to respond as being a hunted team? The big powerhouse, big bad UCF, Gus Malzahn coach, all these guys who were four-star recruits who come from SEC schools. Travis Plumlee was quarterback in Mississippi last year. He actually played receiver, but he was in and out. Mikey Keene was in the game. I just don't understand what UCF is right now after they had a couple big wins in the middle of the season. I think that was their peak. Tulane played amazing last week. Made every single play they had to do to hang on to get that big time emotional win over Cincinnati. I think they circled this game. They wanted UCF back. They're going to be ready for this game. I think Tulane's going to put it on them, kind of just dominate them. I don't think UCF shows up for this game. I really don't. There's something in me says they don't show up. I think Tulane wins big.
Wow. Moving on, we're going to go west to the Mountain West, 4 p.m. Eastern on Fox. We're going to play this one on the Smurf turf in Boise, on Boise's campus. Fresno State, the Bulldogs, they're going into Boise for the Mountain West Championship. Boise is a 3-point favorite at home, a total of 54. This is one of the games I'm really looking forward to Saturday. Fresno State stud quarterback, Jake Haener is back. He's been back for a few weeks, but he didn't play in the first Boise State game. That makes that game totally irrelevant to me. I love this kid. On the other side, Boise State's been playing really well the last month and a half. This is a fantastic game. How do you see it, Ian?
You gave me the handicap right there. Jake Haener, that is the man. Since he came back, I've been very much enjoying betting on Fresno State, especially double overs as he was out, they couldn't score. He's back in. What a world of a difference. They're able to win out, get to this game. They are going to win this game, I believe. I truly believe they're going to win this game. Boise, again, a team I think peaked early on, kind of struggling the last couple of weeks. I know the game hasn't really mattered, but it's hard to turn it back on. It's hard to shut it down and turn it back on. Lucky to win that game. Of course, David, I know being on the other side of that game last week, really, really one of the worst beats that you're going to get. Utah State getting 17, driving to take the lead with a minute 20 left, and end up losing by 19. Tough loss, tough pill to swallow still. But it doesn't change the fact that that's a misleading win for Boise. They're one possession game. I don't see they have an answer for Haener. This guy's going to be drafted. He came back to school for this. This is what he came back for. I don't see it. Fresno, outright win.
I'm with you. Tudor.
Yeah, so Haener didn't even play the USC game, right?
That's when he got hurt. He got hurt in that game.
Got hurt in that game, yeah. And they had just came off of almost beating Oregon State, who's a good team themselves. Yeah. So here's the thing. This is Boise State at Boise State, and this is their conference, and I just can't bet against Boise State. So just give me a Boise State win 28-24.
Sounds good. The SEC Championship, we thought we were going to have a huge game. It looked like LSU was going to come in and be against Georgia for a shot at maybe one of these last playoff spots. Well, they got the stuff around them to go their way, but they forgot that they needed to beat A&M. So they didn't show up last week in College Station, and A&M ran them off the field. So for all sake, LSU, I got to believe, you guys tell me if I'm wrong, is dead in the water. It'll be interesting to see how they respond. So we got LSU in Georgia. The game is on a neutral, but it's in Georgia. We're going to play in the Atlanta Mercedes-Benz Dome, 4:00 Eastern, CBS. Georgia, a huge 17.5-point favorite, total of 51. Tudor, you're first.
Yeah, the A&M did a favor for the committee by beating LSU. This game would be huge. I mean, you're talking Georgia could have might not even make the playoffs had they lost this game. But now they're safe, obviously. Brian Kelly would love to walk into the SEC in his first year and win the SEC. So there's no question that the LSU doesn't have anything to play for, they're whatever, or going through the motion. I picked A&M last week against LSU because I knew Kelly was looking ahead for this game, and A&M had nothing to lose. And this is what I'm thinking here, folks. LSU definitely has the talent to play with Georgia. I think they'll have to be turnover free. They'll have to play their typical defense. Georgia knows the playoff is locked. They know that they're the favorite in any of the games, whether they win or lose this game, and they very well could, with a loss. Well, with a loss, they might slip to 2. Michigan go to 1, but I think you're going to see a Georgia team go through the motion, and so I think LSU covers. Probably not win. I don't. It's gonna be a cover. Georgia. Let's just say LSU is going to cover. But had the chance.
Yeah.
If you look at last year, everything Georgia was able to accomplish, there's one thing they didn't accomplish last year. That was win the SEC Championship game. That's the game they lost to Alabama. I think of all the goals that they had coming in, now knowing that the spot in the playoff, spot to defend their title is wrapped up, I think this is the game they want. They did not show up last week in the first half, and I don't expect them to. 36-point favorite against their neighbors down the street who's going through a coaching change. Yeah, they don't show up for that game. But the SEC Championship game is the game they did not get last year. They are in a different tier than LSU. They're better all around, and I think this is the game they want. Not getting it last year. This. I think this spot has been circled for them, especially. We saw when their backs were against the wall, when they were getting bet against, when they were playing Tennessee. Not really, they weren't backs were against the wall, but they were not a public side for the first time in a long time. They shut Tennessee down from the get-go. I think you see something similar. I think you see them cover a big spread. This is the game they wanted. Kirby Smart wants this game. He knows what the spread is. He definitely knows what the spread is. I just think this is the game that they wanted. This is when they turn it on. Sleepy Star last week says they were looking at this game right here. They didn't care who they played. They've known who they played for a couple of weeks. They want this SEC championship. They want to wrap up the 2-year cycle and get every single trophy that you possibly can get. Georgia big here.
So if Georgia's up 24 in the fourth quarter, do you think Kirby keep playing his players?
Kirby's he's gonna call if they're up 14, they're gonna punch it in. They're not gonna take a knee.
But I'm saying if they're up 24, are they going to start putting the backups in or keep Bennett in? That's what I'm saying. I think
their backups got 5 stars on them too. Don't worry, they're still gonna be blitzing. They didn't play no prevent defense.
They didn't look 5-star versus Missouri or Georgia Tech, that's for sure.
They'll be fine.
Before we get to the night games, I just want to tell us, everyone, please follow along all season long, all year long. We do all the sports at the Line Movers Network on Twitter at _LM Network. And follow my guys. Great coverage on all the sports all year long. Ian Robbins on Twitter at ROBINSIAN. That's Ian Robbins on Twitter. And Tudor, follow the Tudor. Ask him questions. Ask him about his sports games. They're great. You'll have a great time. You'll enjoy it. I promise. It's the greatest game you'll play. Follow him at DK Sleepers on Twitter. To the night games we go. ACC Championship, 8 p.m. Eastern on ABC. Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. To me, ironically, the best team in the ACC isn't even playing in the game. To me, that's Florida State. But what we do have is Clemson and North Carolina. Clemson, 7.5-point favorite. Big total, 63.5. Ian.
I think this is the start of the demise of Clemson. Losing to South Carolina is a big deal in that state. That state kind of hinges. Now, Clemson, I think it's not it's not often they're going to be a notch below, but when their coach does not embrace NIL in the same way that the other big schools do, they're going to start losing in recruiting. And when the coach can't recruit and he loses his coordinators, like he lost his defense coordinator this year after a long time being with them to Oklahoma, Venables. I think this is the start to the demise and the changing of the guard in the ACC, and Clemson kind of taking a step back. And I know UNC has been a little bit sleepy, but they've had this spot clinched for a while. It's really hard when you know you have a goal at the end of the year to get up for a game or two. I know that Drake May had some Heisman hopes. I know that they had some very, very, very outside playoff chance hopes during that Georgia Tech game. And once that game was hard, the fact that they were able to even push that game last week against NC State to overtime was pretty impressive, in my opinion. But I think they knew that they were playing Clemson for a while. Mac Brown is kind of right of this ship. I don't really like to get Trey's opinion on that. I think he have some more pessimistic views on that, but I do think that this is the start of the demise of Clemson. I think the transfer portal NFL draft is going to show you that. I think they're going to have a lot of guys leave. They've had a lot of guys leave in the last couple of years. I think the main of their talent is going to go to the NFL. Curious to see what Will Shipley is going to do as the best player on there. They don't know who's going to play quarterback. They don't really know what's going on. They haven't been able to stop anybody. UNC makes big plays. I think that big play ability for UNC comes back. I think they finally get back up for this game. And I think they're going to win outright. I think when it comes down to postseason play in college football, if you're playing an underdog to cover, you got to play them on a money line too. Assume if you're betting an underdog, bet them to win. Doesn't matter what the spread is. If you like a dog, bet them to win, because that's what could happen here. I like UNC. I just think that both programs are going in different directions.
Tudor.
Woo, 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 woo. Like the dogs. Clemson being rated 9 was about stupidest thing I've ever seen, by the way. I don't know what the committee was trying to do there. Washington should have definitely been on the top 10. That's a whole other thing. I don't know what the agenda was keeping Clemson in the top 10. This game right here, let's talk about a game that lost a lot of luster. A few weeks ago, we were looking at potential, 11-1 versus 11-1. Shot at the 4th seed. Now, they'll both be proud to get an ACC title. I don't think Clemson cares much. Both these teams have the potential maybe to be run it back next year, depending if some players stay for Clemson. May can't go pro. Down probably will, but they still got other playmakers and good players. So I think you're gonna see 2 teams going after it without a care in the world. This might even be the best game of the day based on score and how close it is. But give me the better quarterback and receiver combination, and the dogs are gonna bite. North Carolina 42-35, something like that.
Very good.
Over.
And the big one, the one that Tudor is going to be waiting all day for. He'll start his day bright and early with USA Soccer. He'll end it on the nightcap from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, 8 p.m. on Fox. The Purdue Boilermakers getting 16.5 from the Red Hot, straight off their huge victory over their Buckeyes in Ohio State. Michigan, 16.5 point favorite, 52. We're going to go to Ian first, and then we're going to let the Tudor send off the show with his Wolverine pick.
One thing I'll say, breaking down, I mean, this is not even a one class drop from one team to another. This is like a 3 class drop. I mean, the top of the Big Ten compared to the middle of the Big Ten, it's just not even close. Purdue, O'Connell's he's a nice quarterback. Charlie Jones is a nice receiver. Lockaby is healthy. He's a nice running back, but it's not to take a horse term. You're talking about a horse versus a claiming horse over here. That's a shout out to my boy Staggy right there. It's not even in the same class. And the one thing I'll say is, how does Michigan respond after this? Well, last year they responded pretty damn well. And I bet against them last year like a fool, because I thought they were gonna have a flat spot, and they didn't. and they just ran Iowa out. And I think the same thing is going to happen. They're just going to run Purdue out, make a case for the 1 seed, sit in that 2, and leave no doubt that they are going to be the ones to be coming for when it comes down to playoff time. I just don't see how it keeps close. And Michigan comes out flat in the first half, you'll see exactly how it is. You buy yourself off that position. You'll see really right away. If Michigan comes out fiery and they bust off a big play or 2 in the first half, they're going to win by 25. If they run flat, a couple punts, 3 and outs, probably be sleepy until halftime and win by a touchdown or 2 in the second half. You'll be able to see really early in the game how that's going to go. Probably go under. Give after the first quarter, you bet one side or the other. If Michigan's up big, they're gonna extend it. If they're close early, take the points.
Shooter, close us out. Your Wolverines, Boilermakers. What do you got?
Well, according to the guy on the committee show today, this was going to be Michigan versus Penn State. I don't know if you guys caught that. He said Penn State on this, and then somebody had to correct him real quick that it was Purdue. Is this a trap game? Absolutely. Will Aiden O'Connell be the next in a long line of people trying to do something amazing after a family death? Absolutely possible. Yes. Do I think it's in the back of Michigan's head that they are in no matter what? Absolutely. Do I think they'll be watching to see what happens Friday night with TCU and Georgia before them? Absolutely. For example, if all those teams win, USC, TCU, Georgia, I could see Michigan making sure they want to be number 2. So then they're going to maybe have a different mindset there. But if TCU loses or if USC loses, I think Michigan and Harbaugh knows, okay, 2-3 seeded guaranteed to be us. And they're going to probably play their boring football, run the ball. I don't think they lose this game. I think the spread is there for the taking. Most likely a backdoor at the end of the game when the backups are in. They're going to have the orgy in the end zone, right? Or Alex Bowman comes in and so I don't think JJ plays the whole game. I think Harbaugh is smart. I as a Michigan fan, I hope he's that smart to pull our guys. That's why I asked you earlier about Georgia and Kirby Smart. Harbaugh, if not going to be like that. Harbaugh is going to have everybody, all the backups in when he can, when the game is safe. And for Michigan, the game is safe when it's a 10-point lead. So I think we'll see some boring football. I don't even know if I would play Corum at this point. I would love for Corum to have a chance at the Heisman, go out and dominate. But I think you sit Corum, and maybe even give Edwards a little bit of a rest. He's still got that broken hand, fracture in his hands. And keep in mind, because of my TCU comment, that also Ohio State could use a Michigan blowout. So if Michigan blows out Purdue really well and TCU loses, then you could see maybe Ohio State has a chance to sneak in. So does Michigan want Ohio State to sneak back in? Could be another thing. It's just a lot of factors that have nothing to do with the actual game, I think, that can make this game closer than it should be. The brothers' death, trap game, playing the backups, not wanting Ohio State in the playoffs. Give me like Michigan 31-17. Boring game.
Sounds good. Great stuff. I know, Ian, do we have 2 more minutes? I know I said that was the end. We have
tons of minutes. We have free unlimited Zoom.
I got a quick question for you guys. I know the fans want to talk about these 1 seeds and the 2 seeds. Ian, as long as Michigan and Georgia are 1 and 2, does it really matter what the seeds are? They're both going to have to beat someone else, and then the game is on. Does it matter what the seeds are?
I don't think so. No matter what, Georgia's going to be a double-digit favorite. Whoever they play, I think they're almost a double-digit favorite. Almost everybody.
Be double-digit with Michigan.
Nah, not double-digit over Michigan. I do think they're about a touchdown over Michigan.
Okay.
But yeah, the 1 and 2 doesn't matter. It really, and it's unique that we've had in these seedings before that we've seen. And when it comes down to 4, I think the only advantage you have of being 1 or 2 is if you're 1, you get to pick what bowl game you want to have. And for Georgia, if they're not playing in the Peach Bowl, or I think they are playing in the Peach Bowl this year, aren't they? That is an advantage for them. I think one of the playoff games is the Peach Bowl. That's a huge advantage for them, actually. So that might matter. There's also time, right? There is a month between now and when the playoff game goes on the 31st on New Year's Eve. So nicks and bruises, tears and stuff you certainly don't want to have, but nicks and bruises, they're gonna come and hopefully be healed in that time. But having the choice for Georgia, I think, is big. I know, David, you're looking to confirm that with me. I believe the Peach Bowl is 1, and if they get to choose the Peach Bowl, that would definitely be to their.
That's a huge advantage.
I do think they want that. I think that would be the 4th game that they play. Obviously, it's down the road.
You're absolutely right, Ian. The Peach Bowl it's the Peach Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl for the 2 semis, and the winners will meet in LA at SoFi. So great call by Ian. That another game in their backyard.
Yeah. And I think Michigan would probably favor the Fiesta Bowl anyway, with Arizona and a lot of the Midwest connection going out to Arizona as it is. So I think they kind of fit into that. Fiesta Bowl's coming a Big Ten game anyway. Peach Bowl's obviously an SEC game. Fits in with that. They don't care who they play. Whereas TCU, I personally think USC is a little bit better team. When it comes down to Georgia, they don't care. I don't even think it matters. The gap is wide. I think Michigan's probably a 6-point favorite over USC. They're probably like an 8, 9, 10-point favorite over TCU. I think Georgia's about a 14-point favorite over TCU, and probably about a 10-point favorite over USC.
Yeah. Tudor, my question to you is, Michigan lays an egg on Saturday night and loses to Purdue. Are you safe?
I mean, being a Michigan fan and hearing from Michigan State fans, Ohio State fans, that Harbaugh can't win the big games, you don't win enough Big Ten championships and stuff like that. That would make me sick. It'd be nice to have number 2. We got the 1. It'd be nice to have number 2. I would still be sick. I don't think I'd be sweating, because they can't put Ohio State in front of us, right? And
I don't think so.
They could. No, they could.
They could. I don't think
they
would.
They might make that game. And I saw some bookmakers say that Ohio State would be favored in that game, by the way. Chris Andrews said that.
But would they pick Ohio State above Michigan?
Oh, no. I'm saying they could match them up.
so
Really?
how? And
Oh,
what scenario
loses,
could?
TCU and USC lose?
Yeah.
So that what would
There
that
you
be?
go.
Or Michigan wins, put them at 1, put Ohio State in at 4.
So is there no scenario that Alabama can get him?
I don't think so.
Right.
I don't think so either.
So you don't
the
think
key there was they put Ohio State ahead of Bama. So
Right.
if one team can move up and get in, they said tonight, basically by putting Ohio State first, I think they're saying Ohio State's the first team in.
that's what I'm thinking too, because you don't want a situation where TCU and USC loses, and then the committee kind of screwed themselves, but then they'll have to have an SEC first round game and then a Big Ten first round game. So that's what my question would be. I think the committee would make sure they don't have Michigan, Ohio State run it back first round. So I don't think that would ever happen. I think they would have Michigan 3 or Ohio State 4 or Michigan 2, 1, Ohio State 3. I think they do it on purpose, just like they did last year. I think that if I remember correctly, Michigan probably should not have played Georgia. They probably should have played Cincinnati, but they didn't want to do Georgia and Alabama first round, and they really messed it up.
Yeah, so Alabama came in, won the conference title game, jumped up to 1. Georgia
Over Michigan,
so they both had the 1 loss. Georgia went down to 3. Michigan was technically the home team in that game, and Cincinnati was in at 4.
Right, but I think they did that. I don't think they wanted that rematch that quick. Now you mentioned something earlier last year. You said Michigan, after beating Ohio State, they didn't have the letdown game against Iowa because they had to win that game. They had to still win Iowa. I don't think they don't have to. I kind of hope we don't lose to Purdue, but they don't have to. They don't have to win this game. So there's a big different dynamic there too, as well. With that Michigan, I'd be curious to see how Harbaugh might just say, screw it. Let's win 60-0 and maybe we'll get the 1 seed. But I think I'm pretty comfortable with being a 2 seed. And I think we match up well with USC. There's a lot of unknown with TCU. And I was telling Ian, I was telling TCU that Ian that earlier. Like, I think I'd rather play something rather than a Cinderella team and then be that team that lost to that Cinderella team for all these years. You know what I mean? Like in basketball, where you lost to Cinderella team isn't as bad as you lost to USC. So, like, there's a lot of unknown with TCU. They like Boise State in the past and all that stuff. So I think I would rather play USC first round. You know what they got? They got a good quarterback, they got a good receiver, and an okay defense. And I'm gonna sound like Ohio State to me, right? I don't, TCU might have the best offense in football, right? Defense, not so much, but we're not an offense. We're not an offensive juggernaut. So, like, offense is a big deal. I want to play a team that we can contain. So I would like to see Michigan USC. That'd be quite the TV ratings as well. And I think that's what the committee would want too. They want to feed TCU to Georgia, get a nice little first round Michigan USC, and then you got a really nice second round or championship with either Georgia versus Michigan and USC. I think is what the committee is going to want. So I think the committee is looking at USC hopefully win big at Utah, and I think you might see USC jump to 3 just for that reason, just for TV ratings and 2 really nice matchups.
What we do know, Tudor, is we're going to find out what happens in the games Saturday, championship Saturday, and then Sunday morning we'll know all the matchups for sure. For the Line Movers Network, we will be back. We will have some bowl selection shows, right, Ian? We're going to have some big bowl shows.
Yeah, we're going to do some bowls. We're going to do a little reaction on the playoffs. We'll get some first look at some bowl games, some upsets to look at. Bowl season is turned so much, and we saw last week it's kind of crept into the last week of the season. Motivations, transfers, and transfer portals open early now. Coaching changes we've seen already, positive coaching changes, negative coaching changes, how teams react, plus playoff reaction. I wish we'd have a Heisman discussion like we had the last couple of years, but we don't this year. But we certainly got a lot on tap.
Yes. So follow along. Don't miss out on any of the postseason content. Tudor's got one more point for me.
Yeah, who's winning, Army or Navy?
Yeah, we can get that next week.
Oh, we're gonna come back for Army and Navy?
Yeah, well, we'll talk next week. But I think
Army Navy special.
Little thing here. Army is 5-6, looking for a bowl eligibility.
For the Line Movers Network, I am David Dorman. For Ian Robbins, for the Tudor, thank you for joining us. Enjoy Championship Saturday, and we will be back before Army Navy and get you set for all the bowls. Take care and enjoy.